Hi, my name is Kristen Hornbuckle, and today my presentation is called Wrongfully Detained. Today I'm talking about how cultural bias and poor communication led to the wrongful arrest of a Latino U.S. Army veteran. Imagine this. Imagine you're driving to work early in the morning, just trying to support your family, and you pull in out of nowhere. You are tear gassed, your windows are broken, and you're being arrested, all while being a United States citizen who did nothing wrong. Situations like this don't happen randomly. They happen because of stereotypes, assumptions, and lack of cultural awareness. And unfortunately, it comes from people in authority as well. The story I'm focusing on comes from the LA Times, reported by Melissa Gomez in 2025. It's about a man named George Retes. He is a 25-year-old Latino U.S. Army veteran who was driving to his security job at Glass House Farms. He was pulling in, and a line of ICE officers were blocking his way from getting to his job. They were screaming at him to back up. Some were telling him to get out of his car, while others were telling him to move to the side. He was trying to explain that he is a U.S. citizen, and they ignored him. So he got back into his car and tried to back up. And as he did that, they began throwing tear gas at him, which obstructed his view. His car was completely clouded in smoke. His car was completely clouded in smoke till he could no longer see. And then the next thing you know, his window was broken. He was being pepper sprayed, pulled out of his car, and pushed on the ground and arrested. He was held in jail for 3 days, and once he was released, they had no explanation as to why he was arrested, and no charges were brought against him. When he began to speak out about what happened, they said that he assaulted officers, and there is video of all of this, and there's no evidence that he assaulted any officers. So, before I explain why this happened, it's important to understand what culture is and what intercultural competency is. So, from our textbook, A Speaker in Progress, 2021, Chapter 4 by Barron and colleagues explains that culture is our beliefs, values, language, and behaviors. And intercultural competency means respecting people from different backgrounds, religions, races, no matter what, and communicating without making assumptions. This matters because stereotypes about Latinos show up in everyday life, and we're seeing that play out in George Retes' story. So what I'm going to be covering today is the historical discrimination that Latino communities face, the current political and social issues that keep stereotypes going today, and third, how cultural competence could have prevented a situation like this from happening in the first place. So, historical foundation. For decades, Latinos in the U.S. have faced discrimination in schools, healthcare, housing, and legal systems. Research by Mendoza and colleagues in 2024 shows that Latino children and families still experience bias, discrimination, and racism across multiple systems. Many Latinos are treated as outsiders even when they are U.S. citizens, and that long-term pattern has created stereotypes about immigration status. That's why officers assumed that George Retes was undocumented, because of what he looked like and where he worked, not because of anything that he did wrong. These stereotypes are still happening right now, according to Pew Research. M and Noe Bustamante in 2025 found that nearly half of Latinos worry that they or someone close to them could be detained or deported. Citizenship doesn't necessarily give them protection from being treated like suspects. We also know from Mendoza in 2024 that Latino youth are still experiencing discrimination across schools, healthcare, and the legal system, as I said earlier. So when the officer saw that a Latino man was arriving at his work site on a farm during an immigration raid, they just assumed that he must be undocumented. And that right there is prejudice and confirmation bias at work. Here are a quick few facts or statistics from a national study by Findling and colleagues, and I'll just name a few of them really quick. 20% of Latinos reported discrimination during clinical encounters, while 32% experienced discrimination when seeking equal pay and promotions, and 27% reported discrimination in police interactions. And this was a survey from over 800 Latinos. So how could this have been prevented? Having cultural competence is one way. Chapter 4 of A Speaker in Progress explains that cultural competence means noticing or being aware of our own biases, managing uncertainty, and seeing people as individuals and not stereotyping them. Stevens in 2023 from the University of Illinois explains that culturally competent leaders take time to learn about other cultures, communicate openly, and reflect on their own assumptions. If officers would have slowed down and listened to George Retes instead of acting out of fear, then this all could have been prevented. George Retes' wrongful arrest shows how stereotypes and lack of communication or even poor communication can seriously harm an innocent individual. His story fits into a much bigger pattern of discrimination that Latino communities have faced for decades. These issues still happen today, which is why cultural competence matters more than ever. So while we can't control ICE officers, we can't immediately change federal policies, and we can't control what happens in these high-stress raids. We can control how we treat people, how we talk to them, and we can control our own assumptions. When we slow down and we listen and avoid judging someone based on their looks, beliefs, religion, race, or any other differences that we may have, situations like this are a lot less likely to happen. So thank you all for listening to me today.